Okay, it's great to see everybody here. You pointed. When I got this job, people would say to me, my family and friends, they said, so what do you guys do? What is it that you guys do at BYU? And I say, oh, well, we do all of the events at BYU. We do the football games, we do the basketball games, we do the concerts, and we do the devotionals. They'd say, oh, yeah. So you work for BYU Broadcasting? I said, no. No, we don't do that. We do, like, if you're at the football game and you look up on the scoreboard and you see the replays of the game, that's what we do. And they said, oh, yeah. I was watching the game at home, and so you work in that big new building by the Marriott Center, right, with all the sound? No. I don't work for BYU Broadcasting. So I says, no. The way I explain it to people is, if you're at an event and you're in the venue watching the event, everything you see or everything you hear is what we're responsible for. If you're at home watching on your TV, that's BYU Broadcasting. That's everything you hear and you see on there. So we were doing the first MTC devotional Tuesday night for the missionaries in the Marriott Center, and my old stake president, who is the president of the MTC, comes up to me and he says, how's that gig at BYU Broadcasting going for you? I said, everything we're doing for you, President, here tonight is events. It's AV production. We are the AV production team, and we work in OIT. And he's just like going, so you work for BYU Broadcasting, right? Anyway, so what we've got today, we've got a couple of videos to show you of some of the things that we do. We do over 1,000 events annually across campus. That's just the events that we do. We also do close to 8,000 deliveries across campus for classroom support equipment. Another 1,200 things we do at the walk-in counter as people rent equipment. You're gonna have the opportunity to hear from a number of our team today. We do audio, we do video, we do lighting, we do teleprompter. We have a scheduling arm. We do deliveries, as I mentioned. We have Troy Sales is here. He's going to talk about audio production that he does. That a lot of you don't realize. I didn't even realize the stuff that he does for a lot of the dance teams, ballroom dance, and different soundtracks that he does. In fact, the video that we're going to watch, he did the soundtrack for that. So right now, we're going to go ahead and roll the first video, and then we'll hear from Kevin, Anthony, and then PJ, one of our lighting students, and then we'll hear from Troy Sales. And we'll go to that point. The athletic one.
And channels 1 and 2 are turned down a little bit, sir. Thank you.
Bye. But we stood there and watched as they
We're working on that new service.
Yeah, it's a new service we provide. We team up, shovel sidewalks. I'm Kevin. I work with Cecil, who's not here as well, and we work with all of the video, a lot of the video needs that we're asked to do. We take students who, most of the students who come to us haven't touched a camera in their life, and we get to throw 30 pounds on their shoulder and tell them they have to run up and down the sidelines of a soccer game. A couple of them went, wait, what? I can't just stand there? I said, no, we're just standing there, we put you on the tripod. So I pretty much just wear them out is what I do, run them up and down.
So you're with BYU Broadcast?
Yeah. We're in that nice big building. Yeah, and then we get people yelling at us with their cell phones. It's not on your channel. We can't see it on broadcast, BYU TV. Something new that we've started is we've been asked to, the rugby team has a lot of their students come from, or a lot of their players are students who are from out of the country. So they've asked us, hey, how can these parents see it now that we're not on broadcast BYU TV anymore, since broadcasting is the one helping them here. And so they asked, is there anything we can do to help them out? So we worked with the rugby coach, and between him and us and some creative wiring, we came up with a way to take our productions and actually stream them to YouTube, and also KSL has said, hey, we'll come and help. And so between us and KSL, we've been able to provide a lot of these parents of these players and their other family members with the ability to see the games. So it's been a real fun experience. We even were able to catch, after they won the varsity championship, one of the players proposed to his girlfriend right after the game out on the field during the celebration. And so we were able to catch that, and his parents in South Africa got to see their son propose live too.
Nice job.
So we get to do a lot of fun stuff, and I don't know if that's next or is there any, I don't know if there are questions at the end.
We'll do questions at the end.
Sounds good. So PJ's next.
All right. Hi, I'm PJ. I'm a student with the lighting crew. And lighting actually does a little bit more than just, shine lights. Oh, thank you for that. We do a little bit more than just shining the lights during devotional. We're also in charge of rigging, and we do a lot of maintenance ourselves. With rigging, we work heavily with the risk management department, and we train our students how to inspect steel, how to properly set up points, and we actually let them climb out and set their own points. They are trained in rappelling. A lot of them come from backgrounds in rock climbing, so they usually don't have a problem with heights. If they do, we find another thing for them to do while we're doing that. One of the important things about our crew is that we also know how to maintain our own equipment. A lot of us have had to replace motors, encoders, ballasts, and these intelligent fixtures we have. And by doing that, we're able to actually maintain the fixtures we have and actually exceed their life expectancy. We have fixtures that are only supposed to last about 4 years that we've had for 8 years, working absolutely fine. With rigging and everything we do, we also take care of the banners in the Marriott Center. Pretty much anything in the rafters that needs to be hung, they usually come to us for. The kabuki drop, the sheet drop we do for basketball, that's something we do, which is a challenging endeavor to make sure that we never have a failure, which we haven't, ever. But we set that each game. I control it off of one of my consoles, black out the arena, do... Oh, sorry. I'm sorry I have such a distracting video.
It's fascinating.
It's fascinating. Yeah, there's music to it, but I decided not to have the music because I'd be distracted by it too. And no, we're not part of the theater department. That's usually what I get all the time. It's like, oh, you do the plays and the productions of BYU. It's like, no, just the events. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, people are often confused about what I do as well. I think I have a big recording room, and I bring in groups and multi-track record them and mix them down and so forth. But what I do is more of a editing and mastering and finishing, sound design kind of work. I do some recording and so forth, but maybe the best way to explain what I do is through a little story I put together about a fictional BYU student named Joe. So one day Joe decides that he wants to get some Sunday music to listen to on his iPod while he's getting ready for church. So he goes down into iTunes, he types in the search word BYU. Well, on iTunes there are over 500 plus songs that come up with that search word. And Joe finds some and downloads some. But what Joe doesn't know is that most of those 500 songs came through our event studio. Directors took recordings that they had from the HVAC, from different venues and so forth, and brought them into my studio. Roz Hall will come in there, and oftentimes she'll have about 4 takes of the same men's chorus song. And she'll sit down and she'll say, well, I like the beginning of this take, I like the ending of this take, I like the middle of this take, and I really like this part right here in this take, and it's beautiful musically. But someone tipped a chair over right in the middle of it. Can you take the chair out? Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. And so we'll stitch it all together, and in the end, it'll be a seamless piece that no one could, hopefully, Joe cannot tell that it's had this editing done to it. Another thing we do is fix a lot of pitches. Mac Wilbur used to come into the studio before he went up and was the Tabernacle director. And I could tell that something needed to be fixed pitch-wise when he would start raising his eyebrows when he was listening to it. If you watch him when he conducts, if you see his eyebrows going up, that's his signal to the choir that you're flat and you need to get a little more sharp. Choirs are notorious for going flat, so we fix a lot of that. Then how I put them all together, all these songs together, all the editing and so forth, and equalization, add reverb, and then make a final master that is then sent off to iTunes or sent to be duplicated. So it's a little bit different than a normal recording studio. Joe loves basketball. He attends every BYU basketball home game that he can. And as the game starts, there's this larger-than-life multimedia presentation that takes place with audio and video and lights. And the announcer announces all the players, and then the game begins. Well, what Joe doesn't know is that most of that audio was processed through our studio. A lot of editing, a lot of tempo shifting, adding sound effects. And even though the announcer sounds like he's live, introducing those names, he's not. He came into the studio. Sorry, I hope I'm not going to ruin testimonies here today. But he came into the studio and we recorded his voice, and then I made it louder and added these big delay echoes to make it sound larger than life, to make those intros sound huge. And hopefully, I don't know if you guys have noticed the echoes, but at least it's made it sound like it's big and larger than life and over the top. But next time you go, listen for the echoes. So, and look at the announcer. He won't be at the microphone. He's going to be coming back, taking a little break. Also, a lot of the commercial spots that are played at the basketball games and football games have been recorded in the studio, and they play them back. And it's often the announcers that come in, so that you think it's the announcer, but it's not. They have them come into the studio so that they can get it pretty much perfect, so that the sponsors don't complain. All right. Well, being a single young man, Joe enjoys watching the Cougarettes and Cheer Squad do the timeout spots at the games. And they often perform to some of his favorite songs, but he's kind of amazed. It's like, how can they take a 4-minute song and keep the best parts of it and then make it under a minute without it sounding awkward or weird? Well, what Joe doesn't know is that the Cougarettes and the Cheer Squad have come into the studio and they brought in this music, and we've selected the best parts and edited it down and made it sound hopefully congruent, all in under 1 minute. And then also they do halftime spots, which are about 2 to 3 minutes. And those sometimes will have up to 10 songs all packed into those little chunks of time. And the idea is to hopefully put those together artfully so that they will not sound too weird when they're all mixed together into this medley, so to speak. Let's see here. So, Joe has a girlfriend on the BYU folk dance team. He decides to go with her family to watch Christmas Around the World. Now, Christmas Around the World, I don't know if any of you have been to it before. It is the folk dancers' biggest show of the year. They have all their folk dance teams there, and they tell a warm, heartfelt story about Christmas through all these different cultures and through the use of multimedia, lights, sound, and video and so forth. And what Joe doesn't know is that all of the sound came through the event studio. Folk dancers would come in. Sometimes they bring in recordings that they already have that we need to edit down and fix. And sometimes we've recorded things in there. That is one little instance where we do record the music from the beginning. Sometimes they'll have this clogging piece that sounds really good and so forth. But when the cloggers get on the stage, they can't make the sound with their shoes loud enough to come through the speakers and add to the music well. So they'll come into the studio, we'll put all this plywood out on the floor, they'll get their shoes on, we'll put them on headphones, and it's kind of funny to see them all around there with these headphones draped, and they're holding onto their cords, and they're clogging 90 miles an hour listening to the music in their headphones, and then I sync it up, and then it records and so forth, and that gets played back. The clogging track gets played back along with the music track for the live show. Do that with tap dancers and people like that as well. People like that. Yeah, we do all of the music for all the different dance groups: ballroom, folk, contemporary dance theater, ballet, Lady Legends, dance ensemble, connect, senior projects. Once we do things for the ambassadors. All of the, we do the audio for their campus shows, and then also the shows that they take on tour. This last year, we had tours go to England, to China, to South America, stateside, Nauvoo. Actually, the folk dancers are in Nauvoo right now. I'm putting on a show there. So, these shows are about an hour and a half to 2 hours, every one of them, including the tours. That's a lot of work. Sometimes I look, when I archive all of my materials at the end of the year, I just think, oh, that was a lot of work. It's kind of stressful almost. But anyhow, let's see here. I don't know if you saw this in the Y News lately, but when the ballroom dancers were over in Europe, they competed at Blackpool, and they won the world championship. And that's their 20th, I believe. It's almost hard to keep track. Once again, all those championship routines came through the studio. I forgot to mention that the Cougarettes also have 8 national championships with routines that we created here as well. How many national championships does the football team have? So anyhow, we've been a part of a lot of good things.
One more than you.
Hopefully there'll be a lot more to come. Also, sometimes it's hard to get copyright clearances lately with a lot of new laws and pressures and so forth. And so we get copyright clearances for these songs, and then we slice them and dice them and move them around. But sometimes they won't give clearances. They won't give us permission. So in those cases, I've decided to kind of step up lately and compose music to fill those spots. In the first video you heard, that was music that I composed that was for a contemporary dance theater show. It is kind of a mechanical rock type song with some dubstep things mixed in. And I'd never composed dubstep before, but I learned how to do it. It's kind of fun. So anyhow, I started composing, and also there was a play I worked on that was supposed to be set in the Middle East somewhere, And we looked and looked and looked for music to work for it. We went on YouTube, we went everywhere, and the director wasn't happy with anything. He said, well, I guess there's only one thing left to do. Start from scratch and compose. So I ended up composing music for the whole play. And once again, it's music I never had composed before. It was supposed to sound like modern Afghanistan music. Now, I don't know about you, but just composing is hard enough, but to compose that kind of music was really tough. So I went on YouTube and watched a lot of Afghani weddings and so forth. And anyhow, so, all right. Joe's sister is on the BYU gymnastics team. He likes watching her floor routine, and he likes the remix of 4 songs combined together that she dances to, all underneath her time limit of 90 seconds. So imagine taking 4 songs, chopping them up, and making them fit into 90 seconds and having it sound good. Plus, in those 90 seconds, you cannot have any vocals. So, what Joe doesn't know is that his sister brought in these 4 popular songs, and we went through and found all the parts without vocals, and then put them together in an artful way, and made it under 90 seconds. Added sound effects, sometimes added percussion and so forth to make it an artful experience. Joe's mother was a guest speaker at Women's Conference. Joe and the rest of his family couldn't be there to see her speak, but what his mother did was sent the whole family emails with links to her presentation so that they could download it and listen to it. What Joe doesn't know is that the employees, the event staff employees, recorded all of these events, and they all went through the studio. They're all edited and mastered, converted to MP3s, and then set up with links so that each presenter could have their own individual link to download their presentation to their digital device of choice. The President's Leadership Council recordings go through the same process, and a lot of the devotionals as well. Joe's previous roommate was from China. His roommate is back in China now. Took his family to see the BYU Young Ambassadors tour. That's where the YAs went this year. YAs, that's short for Young Ambassadors. They went this year to China. His roommate was glad that BYU took the time to translate and re-record the English voices on their video segments. Young Ambassadors have these little vignettes, little video vignettes through their show that kind of tell a story. And anyhow, this kind of happens now and then. These BYU performing groups go out to all places in the world pretty much, except for North Korea. And maybe,
Syria, I hope.
yeah, maybe that's Syria, but they go to the craziest places. They've gone into the Middle East, and I went with a group one time to Turkey and Greece and Israel, but we didn't go to Syria. But anyhow, BYU takes this important message out to all these places in the world, and it's very conceivable that this family of this Chinese student that went to see the Young Ambassador show over in China was touched by the Spirit and ended up joining the church, ended up becoming baptized. These kind of stories happen all the time with the BYU performing groups. So anyhow, what Joe doesn't know is that Young Ambassadors brought those videos into the studio. We looked at the English part of it, and had Chinese translators in there with us and Chinese speakers. And many times we were up till 11 at night re-recording these English parts into Chinese and then syncing them to the video so that it made sense for the people over in China. In this events area, we work all kinds of crazy hours. And it can be hard, and sometimes we think, oh, I'm not going to get to bed till midnight tonight, but in the end, it's worth it. What we do has a huge impact on the students' lives here at BYU and for the church throughout the whole world. So hopefully you can see how this studio plays a vital role here at BYU and for the church. Now you know what Joe doesn't know.
Does Joe work at BYU Broadcast? Okay, so now we're going to do the second video. The first video was more of the stuff that we do for athletics, but athletics is just one of our customers. We have multiple customers across campus. So the second one is more representative of some of our other customers. And then after that video, we're going to hear from Drew Alsop, who's our operations manager, who also does teleprompting for us on any event we do that has teleprompter needs. And then we'll hear from Eric Kopp, one of our audio guys. Troy Streeter was going to be here, but he got called away. If Troy gets here at the end, we'll hear from him. Otherwise, after Eric, we'll open it up for questions. So.
I think you get a feel for kind of some of the things we do, but probably not kind of what we have to do, what the conditions are that we have to do them under. Do you remember in the 3rd grade when the librarian would catch you not doing what you're supposed to do and she'd grab you by that elbow and just right on the bone? And that's my experience every devotional with President Samuelson. You laugh. But it is such a high-profile thing, and President Samuelson needs to know that everything's going to go well. And every devotional, he'll take a moment to grab the back of my arm and say, this is going to work, right? And every one of us, every one of these gentlemen and their level of professionalism is just outstanding. You have to realize that our ability to deliver the product is crucial to not only the image of President Samuelson, but the image of the university and its mission. And if we're not attentive, if we're not professional, it reflects badly, not just on us, but across the board. And so there's a great deal of pressure. I was at a basketball game. I have the opportunity to run the stats that are displayed on the corners of the video board. One of the connections, somebody tripped over it down on the court side, so I lost my feed from the stat computer that was feeding it, the official stat computer. It was 2 minutes before I had people tapping me on the shoulder saying, "Put the stats up! Put the stats up!" And then my phone started ringing, and it was President Samuelson's office saying, "Where are the stats?" And I, before that time, I'd always just thought, that's a nice courtesy to have the stats up there. People aren't that interested. But it's that critical to some people, what we do. You think about a football game and how it would change the entire football dynamics if we didn't provide good sound support. If that ref mic doesn't work, you may be casually annoyed. It's a big deal. And every one of these gentlemen work under that kind of pressure every single day till late hours at night, and then have to come in the next morning to do another thing. And I guess my favorite part is I had some family show up to one of our events, and they said, "Where were you? We never even saw you." That's probably the highest compliment that we can get. If we're transparent where you didn't even notice we were there, then we've done our job. That's what we want, and that's what we want to do. And every one of these unsung heroes do that every single day, inside and out, without accolade, without anybody coming and saying, "That was the best thing." It's just a great team to work with. And that's what we do, and we do it day in and day out. And so I appreciate the opportunity to work with each of these gentlemen. And the other fun thing about this, or not so fun thing about it, is I'll have people come to me and say, "You work every basketball game? That is awesome. I have to pay to get in." The men's game's a little bit easier to tolerate, but when you've done 18 women's home games, and especially if it's not a winning season, it's work. It's a lot of work. You're down by 30. It's not. You're still there till the end of the thing, taking and striking and making sure everything works. It is work, and it takes a lot of work. And so I just applaud all these people, and I hope that you recognize that there's a great deal of effort, a great deal of professionalism and expertise that goes into making sure these things are successful. And when you don't see us, when you don't even know that we were there, that's the best compliment we have, is that we've done our job correctly.
So, my name is Eric. I work in partnership with Troy, the other Troy not. I work with this Troy as well. Troy Streeter is the other part of our audio team. He works mainly to make sure that all the events and the HVAC are running. Our staff used to be a little bit more divided with our students. Now our students have to deal with a wide range of events, from situations almost like this where someone doesn't feel that they can speak loud enough to be heard in the back row. We have a student there with a microphone, making sure they can hear, all the way up to Phantom of the Opera production. That was, I think it was a month and a half, where a couple of our students were working full-time hours, making sure that the whole production was mixed in surround sound. There were speakers all around, and they had to set all those up, wire stuff through the ceiling, and bring them back. So they deal with a wider range of events, which is different from other situations with audio. Usually you're doing concerts or you're doing plays. It's kind of a division. Our students get to run the whole thing. Some of the events are, I guess, a challenge that was kind of fun, that deals on what Troy sales here, is he did a recording for the ballroom show that was recently, ballroom and concert. They came into the Marriott Center, and Troy, because he spent so much time mixing in a, what we call stereo, left and right, he wanted the speakers to be rehung. And that's this setup right here. That one really long giant banana stack is comprised out of two of the stacks that you see in the center. So we had to take the entire system down, bring it to the ground, rehang it, use computer modeling to rehang and make sure we had even coverage from floor to the top, and then refly it and re-hook up the system, which required a lot of wiring and a lot of expertise with my staff. and we dropped it in. It made the concert infinitely better because it didn't sound like an arena anymore. But the thing is again, what Drew says, it's transparent. You guys probably, if you saw that show, had no clue that all that work was done to remodel the entire system in the Marriott Center. And our students run everything on that. We rely heavily on them. Our department works heavily between everyone with video. It just seems like video does their thing, but if they have production, they have to send production videos. They have to ship me audio, and I have to make sure I get audio from them. Lighting, I have to make sure that when they're hanging and focusing, that I'm not disrupting them, because they have to communicate from that, as you saw in the video, that 60-foot drop or 75-foot. They have to yell to each other to make sure they can communicate. And if they don't communicate well, that's a bad thing, especially when someone's 60 feet in the air. Tether to a rope, and that's it. One big challenge that we had, another one was the women's conference. Did anyone attend that at all? Or the conference? Drew
was there.
Drew was there.
But you never saw it.
Never saw it.
I never saw Drew.
We have to pay again.
That's one of the perks of working for BYU Broadcasting.
So the women's conference, we run all of their events across campus, which employs all my students for 3 days. 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. or 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And they put on a Deseret concert, sampler concert in between that. Normally that's an okay thing. It's really simple. But what you didn't see is that the day before the concert, right after women's conference ended, we struck the podium, pushed it back, loaded an entire concert rig, loaded in all your microphones, all your lighting, did sound checks, did lighting things, and then struck it. No one saw that. Went back the next day, did conference, everything looked fine, and that night at 5 o'clock, and the show's at 7, again, restruck everything and reloaded an entire concert and hoped everything made it back in the same position. All the mics hit the right channels, all the lights got refocused, all the lights hit their, video, had to do production for that as well, so they had to reload their cameras and do everything, and that was done in a matter of about an hour for sound checks to happen again, to open doors, and for everyone to enjoy a full-length concert, which you saw shots of. It was a really great success, and again, we're best if we're not seen. I'm best if I'm heard. If you don't hear me, that's a problem. So, anyway, thanks.
In my interactions with President Sanderson, I now know why my elbow hurts so much. Anyway, it's been my fortune and blessing in my career to be able to work with top-notch professionals. I come from the broadcasting world, not KBYU. But anyway, but I'm really blessed here to have really top-notch professional guys to work with. And our team is just, I love them. They do a great job. Kevin didn't expound enough on what he does. A lot of you know we got new multi-million-dollar LED boards in the football stadium this year, and the customer came to me and said, hey, we've really got to take it up a notch. It's got to be professional. It's got to look good with these new high-definition LED boards, and Kevin and his crew really answered the bell on that and did just an awesome job, and along with all of the team. They do just a great job. So let's go ahead. We have time. Let's just open up the questions. If anybody's got anything, Neil.
Where's the sound room that Troy works on where you can pack in 20 cloggers and do all that?
Right back here. As you go into...
that's the only one I knew of.
Yeah.
How do you,
That's the
how do you
one.
get 20 cloggers?
A lot of times.
You probably did that at the Marriott Center.
Maybe they could open those doors and you could look at Troy Studios on the way out and notice how they're designed differently. Where the walls are not parallel. There's sound baffling in there.
Yeah, a lot of times I make it sound like there's 20 cloggers, but in reality I record maybe 5 cloggers at a time. And
Oh,
record 4 passes.
but I mean, the only studio's right here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we've got his audio production studio, and then we have a full edit suite video that we've got too as well. So,
Do you ever get caught up in whatever events you're doing?
Hope of America, that's one that really. I'm a big sports fan, and so it's a sacrifice to have to go to the football games and the basketball games. But I don't know, you guys ever get caught up? I know Drew gets caught up doing teleprompter, staring at the screen.
Sometimes, depending on how intense it is, we get caught up the other way. I'll go through 3/4 of a basketball game and have no idea if we're winning or losing or what the score is because we're so worried about getting our cameras to the next spot. So. We can be there the whole time and have no idea what's going on.
The struggle is actually the other way around, keeping the students from getting engaged. About 4 years ago, we had a game stopped at a basketball game, and the ref walked over to one of our cameramen and said, "You be quiet." So we had to strike our student from the floor and send him back to run replay and send another cameraman out to the floor because he got a little bit too into the game. He was complaining to the ref the whole time the ref would go by him. Sometimes you have to keep them from getting too engaged in the game.
Actually, for me, the problem comes on the reverse side. When I go to events that aren't run by us, I have a hard time stepping out of events or getting into them.
Yeah.
I sit there and I look, I'm like, speakers are there, lighting's there.
Yeah.
So because of this, we usually can't focus on shows.
Anybody else? Yep.
Do you often have students who come in to your department with an entirely different major and end up working in this industry instead?
Well, we have a lot of students with different majors that have no interest in audio video stuff, but they're just looking really for a job. But I don't know, I hadn't been here that long. Have there been students like that, Drew, that have?
We have. Typically, it's been video. Our students in video have moved on. We have some right now that freelance for a lot of the trucks and crews that go now and games. And we'll actually see them come back to a BYU game or something running for the local TV station or whoever's doing it, and so we'll see them. But yeah, they do. In fact, one of those other struggles that we have is keeping them focused on school, because they love this so much that most of us go to work so that we can pay for school, and these guys come and go to school so they can go to work, because they love it so much. And so we do have that, and it's difficult. Most of what we do, you would see outside in another production house, you'd see them all full-timers. And we have 7 full-timers, 8 full-timers, and 45 students that accomplish this. And so it's a really fascinating thing to try and help them remain focused on school, and yet at the same time deliver top-quality professional events.
Yep.
Do you ever interact with peers from other institutions? I imagine you got 2 teams playing. You probably maybe have some peers in that same setting from those other institutions. And if so, do you find yourselves kind of talking about how you go about doing it from your perspective versus their perspective? And thirdly, given that conversation, do you find that for all the reasons you've described, we're kind of above and beyond maybe what other organizations end up doing in this way?
I went to Infocom last year in Vegas and sat right down next to a guy that works at Utah State, and before that he had worked at Utah, and we were trading stories and notes, and he was like, "You just don't believe how lucky you are to be at BYU." And then I've got an old business partner, actually was one of Kevin's professors over at UVU, and we talk quite often about what they do and what we do, and we are so blessed here at BYU to be able to have the equipment that we do and the funding that we do, and even really, in my view, the high-profile events. Yeah, it's stressful when President Samuelson grabs your elbow, but we have this thing coming up on the 23rd that is really probably the biggest high-profile event that we'll be involved in since I've been here, when we'll have the 12 Apostles here for this worldwide broadcast on the floor of the Marriott Center, and we're an intricate part of that production, and so I think it's great that these students get a chance to participate in something like that. That's a really good thing, and so it's a blessing to be at BYU, no question about it. Anybody else? All right, well, let's turn it over to Elaine.
So this won't be near as interesting, but after last month's Lunch and Learn, when there were questions being asked about the data center, I thought probably ought to give y'all a little update of where we're at in data center things and what we've got going on there. There we go. There you go. So data center's 10 years old, and in terms of data centers, that's getting to kind of the end of life of some of the components within the data center. And one of the issues that we're highly concerned about is power. So this is a 7-year power history, and the blue line is what BYU uses, the yellow line is what the church uses. The red line is effectively where we're safe, where if one leg of the power went out, we would be okay. And you can see that back in the day, we were consistently together above that red line. And we were really, really blessed that we didn't have the kind of outage that would take us down completely.
The spike in 2009 is virtualization.
The spike in
Not
2009?
the spike, but the drop, is that right?
Yes,
That's correct.
the draw is our virtualization in 2009, and then the church started doing a bunch of theirs right in here. Okay, but we're still really, really, really close to the line, and you can see BYU is, you know, kind of slowly going up. The church has been going down, but they've now reached the end of what we predict is their power savings from virtualization, and they have a lot of projects coming up where they're going to need more and more power in the data center. And so we don't have a lot of space right there to do anything else in the data center. So we've got a project to upgrade the power in the data center that's in the works. I just wanted to brief you on that really, really quickly. I'm not going to get into a ton of details, but bottom line, right here, out of 576 kVA total available in the data center, we have 41 left. And that seems like, okay, but it's not even that easy, because it also has to be balanced across the two different legs that we have. And so it's kind of tricky. This kind of shows the balancing that goes on. So we have two different breaker panels that balance each other, A1 and B1 and A2 and B2. We like to keep them like this one, where they're pretty close to the same. This one, it's fairly out of balance. And again, we're pretty much at capacity on both of those. So the new design, again, this is high level. I cannot explain it to you any further than this, but this man sitting right here can if you're really, really interested. Today we have 3 UPSs in the data center, A, B, and C. Everything runs through A and B, and so everything in the data center should be plugged into both A and B. So if one leg goes out, it can run on B. We still have a few devices that we're cleaning up that are plugged into one or the other. And C today is used as a standby. So it doesn't even run unless there's a failure in A or B, or if we have to take A or B down to do some maintenance. With this data center power upgrade, we're going to bring C online and increase the total capacity then that we can do in the data center with everything having redundant power up to 990 kVA from that 576. And that's usable power based on full failover redundancy and at industry standards of 80% capacity of the electrical components. It makes it more complicated to manage the power in the data center, so we've got to make sure everything's plugged into A and a B, or a B and a C, or an A and a C, and that it's balanced across all 3 of those. But that's where we're going with it. Where we're at with this project right now is finalizing funding and finalizing the design engineering, and we should send it out for bid sometime next month. And then we'll start construction in August and hopefully be completed by the end of October. I'm waiting for the gasps. Start a semester in here anywhere? It's going to be tricky. It's going to be really, really interesting as we go through this. We will do the vast majority of the project with 0 outage. So it'll be very, very complex. There may be up to a 4-hour total power outage. We're still waiting to find out from the design engineering if that's going to have to take place. There's other components in the data center that they're fixing too and replacing. So I won't go into all the detail on that right now. But that's the timeline for the power upgrade in the data center today. There also needs to be mechanical upgrades. So if you think about you're going to add additional power in the data center, well, you've got to cool all that power that's going to be used. So this is the preliminary design for the new cooling. We're not going to do this year. We're deferring this for at least a year, maybe longer. We have enough cooling capacity to get us sufficient power to meet all of the current projected demands. So we've got a little bit of time to get this worked out. Those of you who come to the data center, the biggest thing you're going to notice with the cooling changes is going to be cold aisle containment. So to maximize the use of the cold air in the data center, we'll contain it to the cold side of the racks. That means the rest of the data center will, where you'll be working when you come, will be nice and toasty and warm. So bring your summer wear when you come. Other things that are going on in the data center, I know you can't read this, but we've been working with risk management and BYU police, and we've gone through and done a full-on threat assessment of security at the data center. And we've gone through and we've assessed everything from the possibility of an earthquake, down through terrorists, pandemic, extreme weather, infestation of critters. So we've gone through and we've assessed the probability that it'll happen, how critical it'll be if it does happen, what's our ability to respond to it, and so forth. And then we've ranked them in terms of where do we need to focus most of our efforts in making sure that we're ready if this type of threat should occur. So one of the things that's come out of this and come out of an audit is we need to update the security model that we use to provide physical security in the data center. So I'm looking at everybody in here, and I can only see one, maybe two people who come to the data center on a regular basis. But you're going to start to see changes. So you're going to start to see differences in how we manage physical security. It won't be tremendous, but it should be more efficient, and it should give us greater level of security. For example, if you come to the data center today and you want to go out on the server room floor, you fill out a yellow card, get checked in, and then 3/4 of you forget to turn your yellow card back in, we have to chase you down. We're going to do away with that. I see nods back there in the back of the room. We're going to do away with the yellow cards and go to an all-electronic system. So you won't be filling out those yellow cards anymore. And we'll give you the ability eventually to even fill it out ahead of time before you even come, and then everything's just ready when you get there. We'll change the way the badges work just a little bit, get us more secure with those, and so forth. One thing you will see is removing the forms that we use to apply for new access or renew your existing access, removing it out of CAMES and into ServiceNow. So you'll start to see when it's time for your data center access to be renewed, you'll get an email and it'll send you here, and you'll complete your new information, and then we'll get you back.
You told me I wasn't allowed in there anymore.
I know. I didn't save this form, by the way. I filled it out, took a screenshot, and then deleted it. So that's what's going on in the data center, just in a brief nutshell. Questions? Awesome.
Thank you. Okay, I learned AV events. I got the title right. Thank you guys. Thank you very much for the in-depth world view of what you guys do. I thought that was pretty interesting. I kind of went from wanting to work for you to not wanting to work for you. Big spread. But thank you. And thank you for the data center update too. Okay, if you have not signed this, please do. This is the last Lunch and Learn for a couple months. We'll start again in, did I say August or September? September? I think September. So during that time, we'll send you out a survey and you'll let us know of some possible ideas for the coming year for those. So thank you again.
Thank you.